Bridget McKenzie, thank you for your time. You're in Victoria, where you can see just how hard hit Melbourne and the Mitchell Shire are by these restrictions. How are people in the regions faring?
Well, you're right, Annalise. We're all feeling for Melburnians and those in the Mitchell Shire going through another lockdown in attempt to get COVID-19 under control again and to flatten that curve and the amount of infections. Those of us out in the regions are wishing Melburnians the best, and we don't want them travelling out to the regions. And unfortunately, I caught up with all border mayors late last week, to discuss with them some of the issues that they were experiencing on this side of the border with the hard lockdown out of New South Wales. And their greatest concern was that Melburnians and others were travelling from those restricted postcodes out into regional Victoria and therefore representing a significant risk to our communities. We feel for Melbourne. We want to welcome Melburnians back to our communities once it is safe to do so. But right now, we do not want them visiting their holiday homes, coming to Airbnbs or the ski fields, etc., because we have a very low rate of infection here in the regions and we want to keep it that way.
It is a bit of a mixed message, though, for so many people. We're being told that we need to be supporting regional communities. We need to be getting our tourism dollars that would normally go overseas out into the region. So can you understand the confusion? Some people would think they're doing the right thing by going out to small towns to spend their money there.
Well, you've seen, regional tourism in states like WA booming as people from Perth are having to holiday at home, if you like, and within that state border, and that's really providing an economic boom to those regional businesses. But at the end of the day, we're dealing with a global pandemic, a deadly virus, which is decimating the globe, and so we need to take that very, very seriously. Regional businesses understand that. That is why the lockdown of the New South Wales-Victoria border is so distressing and confusing here in border communities, because if we're locking Melbourne down, which it should happen, and we all agree with that, then there is no reason to have that border between New South Wales and Victoria closed and therefore dampen the economic flow through of New South Welshmen coming south to visit our tourist destinations and regional businesses. I mean, regional businesses in Victoria have had the triple whammy. We've had the bushfires, we've had drought, and now we've got the COVID lockdown. So when I talk to regional businesses, they are really doing it tough, but that doesn't mean they're opening their doors to Melburnians, because that will have devastating impacts on lives out here in the regions.
It really is a tough time for so many in the regions. And another discussion that's happening at the moment is around live exports. Is there division in the coalition over the approach to this?
Well, I can't go to division in the coalition. I know where the National Party Senate team stands, where we've always stood, and that's with our live cattle trade. Not just our producers, primarily in Northern Australia, but through the whole supply chain. It had significant impacts economically, that tragic decision by Joe Ludwig in 2011. And Justice Rari's decision backs us up as a coalition, as the National Party Senate team, in saying he showed reckless indifference to our primary producers. We think that that's the right decision. The National Party Senate team wants to see the compensation paid to the industry, and we don't want to see a coalition government appealing the decision. It really just sends a mixed message. And your viewers might have seen a letter in the Australian today from McGauchie, former Trade Minister Andrew Robb, and Mr McLaughlin, basically saying, our primary producers will absolutely see this as an act of betrayal by a coalition government to appeal a decision, a right decision, which found Joe Ludwig's decision around to ban the export trade as wrong. And it was wrong then, it's still wrong now, and we back the cattle trade and we back our primary producers in calling on the government not to appeal this decision.
There's going to be a review into the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act. The Auditor-General's review's already found that the enforcement of this has been really poor in the past. What changes do you think need to happen?
Well, this is, we're calling on our 2013 election commitment that we took all those years ago to really be wanting a one-stop shop for environmental approvals. We know, and the Auditor-General's report shows that those approvals have been the timelines have been extended beyond ridiculous to really put a handbrake on growth and development, primarily in the regions, let's face it. So whether it's new mining approvals, wind farm developments, either end of the political debate, we're seeing the EPBC Act being used to actually put a handbrake on growth and development. We want to see those projects delivered. We want to see new mines and new development out in the regions, and we need a streamlined EPBC Act that will actually make sure we have those environmental safeguards, of course, but not at the risk of putting a handbrake on development and local jobs. So that review is being done. It'll be handed down shortly, and I hope the government's response will deliver on our commitment we took to the 2013 election.
Can you understand why some would be concerned, though, that those environmental safeguards aren't going to be enough of a priority? We've already had absolute devastation to so much of Australia's biodiversity after the bushfires over the summer, and there would be concern that by streamlining, as you say, getting more development out in these areas, it could come at a real environmental cost.
Oh, not at all. I think, that buys into the argument that Liberal and National parties, governments don't actually care about the environment, which is an absolute myth perpetuated by the left. Now, we saw, ALP senators and MPs decrying their own party's position on the environment over the weekend and really calling into account the Labor Party's job-destroying approach to climate change and emissions reduction. Over 3 elections now, Australians have backed an evidence-based, rational approach to climate change and emissions reduction by electing coalition governments. So Australians understand that we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can actually protect our environment, have tough environmental safeguards, and ensure that we've got projects rolling out across regional Australia that provide much needed local jobs and economic stimulation.
Bridget McKenzie's National Senate Leader, thank you for your time.
Authorised by Bridget McKenzie, National Party of Australia, Wodonga.